what gets in the way? It sounds easy, it sounds fun, it sounds right. But by the way, I think we have this, I think the ideal state for a lot of Americans is isolation. We spend a lot of money and effort to build isolation. So what gets in the way of connection? It's even our mindset of what do we want? Like for me, I would just be honest, my dream place to retire and locate is be on a compound with my kids where we have 4 houses. They're in their house, we're in our house. We all have side-by-sides. We put a pavilion in the middle and we all drive and meet there and do games Sunday night. And even in that, there's a little bit of this on an island, like separated, away, alone. But I want to be connected with my family, right? And so I'm even challenging, is that really the right thing to do? But I think just our mindset will drive us to isolation, right? We as Americans specifically love to be disconnected. And yet, what does it cause? Anxiety's up, depression's up, all kinds of bad things are up as a result of that. And so it's what we want and it's a lot of times strive for, but it's not necessarily good for us. And so at work, let's talk about at work and specifically what gets in the way, although I think a lot of these will apply to our personal lives as well. The first one I would say is busyness. How many of you, when you're asked, how you doing? What's going on? You'll say, I'm busy. How many of you, raise your hands, will say that's your response to how you doing? Has anybody gotten less busy over the last year or two? How many of you have made this statement, oh, it's gonna slow down, but it never does? By the way, all of these, I will say, are excuses. That they're real obstacles. It takes real intentionality to overcome these. Every one of these can be overcome, but we have to recognize these are in the way and we have to do something intentionally about it. So the first one I would say is busyness. The second one is remote work, the hybrid workforce. Again, this isn't a statement that you can't be connected in that environment. What I'm saying is it's an obstacle that we have to be very intentional about. How do we connect in this new world, right? I was talking to Susan, she led an international team for a while and said one of the things they did that I thought was really neat was they had a chat group for their team that the rule was no work-related topics in here. It was all personal stuff. Now, of course, they had all their work channels and everything else, but they had a channel for just personal stuff. And think about it, I mean, in a remote environment, you don't get to sit around the water cooler. You don't get to just talk when you bump into somebody along the aisle or around the water cooler or the bathroom or any of that. And so you have to create things. And so it's a challenge. It's a challenge we need to think about. How do I navigate this? Another one is fear. There's a lot of people, especially when you get in leadership, it's like, well, how vulnerable do I want to be? How open do I want to be? I kind of want to keep this wall so that, I keep my authority or I keep power. And so there's sometimes fear. And it could be, peer to peer. It could be fear of being judged. Again, if there's not good psychological safety, it might be, I don't know that I can open up, that I want to open up. I'm afraid they'll judge me, they'll ridicule me, they'll whatever. Fear is a real thing that has to be overcome to drive to connection. And the last one is technology. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the curves, but the curves are pretty clear, right? As technology went up, connection's gone down, right? If you've ever gone into a room and you've seen, 5 people sitting at a table and they're all on their phones and they're not talking to each other, that's a normal thing, right? That's not even abnormal, that's the normal thing. And so technology, where I think it can be used to drive connection, it also can be an excuse or an obstacle to overcome in terms of getting in the way of connection. So let's talk just briefly about how do we build connection, specifically as leaders. I don't want to spend a lot of time. In fact, I don't have a lot of time. So